Hello, everybody. Let's hope I got decent sound and a decent connection tonight. Last week was just terrible. Um, and so far, Roger still hasn't sent me a notification that they fixed whatever my problem is. Probably just forgot. All right. So, whoop. Just closing on my phone to keep notifications from going off while I'm streaming. Airplane mode. Here we go. All right. Yeah. So the book I want to look through is one of my all-time favorite little treasures. I think it's long out of print. I think DC should perpetually keep this in print because it's some of collection of some of Adam's best work. I love the varnish on the outfit here. A little extra slick for the latex bodysuit. Yowza. The end papers has that wonderful line art from that Women of DC thing where I think they were all dressed in white. I think it's in here. Considering it's all DC covers, I don't think I have to worry about anything crossing YouTube's terms. But it's just so much stuff. And going back to like some of his earliest work at DC when he had somewhat more cartoony style. His Justice League, which is pretty groundbreaking work. I believe he took over for like 6 or 7 issues after Kevin McGuire left. It wasn't a very long run, but I mean, monthly books are just exhausting. So I mean, it's just beautiful stuff. Let's skip past. Oh, here we go. This is around the time when he started coloring himself. I believe he was like just using a mouse in Photoshop and just going crazy. It's like I'm just astounded he was able to like get this level of Art Nouveau painterliness out of Photoshop back at the time. Unless this was airbrushed, but I don't think it was. I think this was inks in Photoshop. He just pushes it to the limit all the time. Becomes more and more like painting under the line art. Just such beautiful work. And I mean, it's like it's come out over the years. I mean, how much photo reference he uses, which is good. I mean, I think he shoots pretty much all his own photo reference. Like he'll do a sketch like this and shoot photo reference of his preferred Wonder Woman model, and then he gets everything 100%. I mean, if I had the space in my studio and I had access to the models, you know what? Let me rephrase that. If I had space in my studio, I'd be doing it. If I had the space, I would actually go to my way to find the models and use them like that. Yeah, wow, so good. Look, all this, I can barely see it here. All this painterly level of like anatomical detail. It's probably, you can see the black line on the side of the breast coming up to the line of the pectoral coming into the front head of the deltoid here, where it's black, and all of a sudden it gets color hold, which is him coloring the line art. So I have a feeling there's a tremendous amount. It's something I do, but not to this level. There's a tremendous amount of line art that he just colors. Just beautiful stuff. I love seeing the roughs, the pencils, and the finished work. I mean, like, look at this. I mean, I wish they were showing more of the finished pen and ink versus the colors. I'd love to know if he drew this background or he just painted that background in. There was a recent Comic Arts fans stream with Joe Linzer of Dawn fame, and it showed that he paints everything, but a lot of times he'll do a digital only background for the printed comic book, and his finished piece is just a figure standing against a color field. So good. Love those boots. Look at those boots. Amazing. I think his Catwoman covers are probably a little bit more. I wonder if this is where I got the idea for that Second Coming cover where he's holding his baby. I don't know. My Superman's like really broken up on it, or Sunstar, I should say, very broken up on there. But wow, look at this, so good. So many Wonder Woman covers. Like we're like, I think it's how much of this book is Wonder Woman? That's Voodoo. And right goes to Wonder Woman. So I mean, it's already it's a big chunk. Maybe a quarter of the book is just Wonder Woman covers. That's a career. I mean, and Catwoman. I love his Catwoman covers. There's a part of me like I'm doing more covers in a stream on a series, if that makes sense. So I get more of the, instead of just second coming where it's me doing new iterations for everything Mark comes up with. For that series, it's like I'm already working on the third Johnny Quest cover. If I got to do like, I don't know, 40 or 50 covers or something, that'd be pretty astounding. God, that fight, biting on the lip there, it's kind of hot too, you know. That one, I just love how he just used the colors there. You really get that like that Las Vegas overlit effect, and then the white highlights don't work as much for me, but they make the character pop and break a bit, so that's good. Again, it's like almost like another quarter of the book is all Catwoman. Oh, Supergirl, Zatanna, yeah, Catwoman. So it's like I think half of his cover output in this book is Catwoman and Wonder Woman. Wow, look at that. It's poison rose and thorn. Sorry, I was going to say poison ivy. Just brilliant use of color here. Superman covers, Titans, boob window. You know he's going to do boob windows and Batgirl. All right, yeah. So that's the book I wanted to talk about this week. All right, ooh, there's chatter, and great. Happy that the sound's good. Hi, Jim, Brendan. Hi, Cowboy Hat Boy. Oh my God, he's just incredible. Also, it's coming back for another print. That's good. So if you like this book, next year in May. I mean, here when I was complaining about not seeing like the inks, look at the level of ink in this rock here. It almost looks like he took a photograph of a rock, dropped it in there, and then he just turned it to super high contrast. Or maybe, hang on, maybe he didn't ink this. It looks like, because this looks like a pencil drawing. And it looks like he ignored a lot of, like he jumped up to contrast and everything to give it some like flash and stuff. This could be like a super tight pencil drawing. I mean, it looks black in this reproduction, but it could be, you know, just did a pencil drawing and then colored to Photoshop. He doesn't have to do inks if he's adjusting the line art controls. You decide to render the meteor with clumps of modeling paste and once dry with dry brush effects of black and white inks instead of rendering all the shadows and regular brush strokes. Huh, so maybe this is halftone because he was using painting medium. I don't know. It's been ages since I read this book. So it's just basically now it's like I pick up and I look through it again and go, oh my God, and break all my pencils in despair. All right. So tonight, with it being Father's Day, and the fact that I've been so much busier than I anticipated being, like I normally would be able to steal a few hours every week to finish stuff I worked on. The last couple of weeks, I mean, even with like losing internet, where I worked on other stuff, I just haven't had enough time to come back and work on Joel. So as you can see, if you remember from where I left off, I did some work in the interim. I was losing control of the values in this part of his face. I was losing control because this is such a muted, essentially low contrast image I'm using as my reference. I found that I wasn't finding the light points I needed, and they were really fighting with the rest of the painting. So what I did is I mixed up some yellow ochre, ivory black, a little cad red light to create almost like a neutral, but leaning more towards the yellow ochre, but just dirty it up a bit. and I mixed it with some matte medium, glazed it over, gave it 2 thin coats of glaze, and it pushed everything much more towards earth tones. There's still, you can still see the blue peeking through from the underpainting, which is something I didn't want to get rid of. You can see in there. There's going to be some white highlights with his beard in there when I get towards the ending, and his hair is going to kind of like disappear into the white, because I am going to come back in and paint the white, whitish background here. But yeah, I was struggling with it. I was not happy with the way it was working. The green didn't get anywhere near this green from the photo reference, but I knew that. So I wasn't worried about that. But what I am worried about is being able to capture skin tones with the red I have, not able to capture the real kind of raw, weathered pinkness in his facial tones here. So hopefully what I'm going to be able to do, 58 US Copex. Hopefully what I'm going to be able to do is reestablish the values I need in the highlight areas here. You can see I went in with a little bit of black in a few areas to put the darks further down. But now what I want to do is I want to find out what are really the highlights in the skin tones, because this is going to be like so white. There's a part of me that's kind of tempted. Maybe I'll just do it straight and see if I can. The white I'm using is acrylic wash, titanium white. And let's give me a little flat brush. I could use a line brush, but no, it's flat. Oops, head butted it. So I know this goes like right to white here. So what I can do is I can actually get some of this right in here. And use that as a point to stay away from. Don't get this intense, because nothing in the reference in Joel's face is as white as the light behind him. He's kind of blown out from behind. So what I got to do is just brush in some of the white here. And already that'll, it was a weird way where it's like my Leia watercolor, to me, it was looking kind of flat. And then when I did the burnt sienna wash, it just seemed to kind of come alive, even though I pushed all the values closer together. So the Blackwing pencil contest is over with no one actually entering. One person did a lovely response to it, but it basically said, "I don't want them." So that was a bit of a dud of a contest. So I'm going to do another one. Again, it's going to be, responses over in Patreon. I'm going to do a book review this week. Found out I have doubles of this one famous artist book. I think I mentioned it before. I think I've even shown the book before. But I'm going to do a quick review of it, why you should have it. And then because I got an extra, I'm going to give one away through my Patreon. Yay, giveaways. I'm always not sure if I'm allowed to do giveaways on my Patreon to Patreon supporters, but it feels like the right kind of thing to do. People support you. You got stuff to hand around, support them back. Wow, that just like, it's not even as white as I want it to eventually go. Like this is going to be like, that's going to be like pure white. That's going to be like pure white. There's going to be some greens in here, but it's really going to make him pop from that background. Not that artists are supposed to be in favor of using the term pop. I had so many clients. Oh, can you add some brilliant colors to make it pop a bit more? And it's like, ugh. Generally takes there's a decent amount of opacity in white paint. This is all going up to white up here too. But when you're anytime you're trying to get complete coverage, you're not going to get it with any pigment, even if it says it's got high coverage. I don't like that line. Oh, it's already making them pop quite a bit. I like it. I like it. Again, I just use pop. I shouldn't. This is going to be very thin. Let's see if I can pull up some matte medium. Just glaze some white over this. Let some of that yellow show through still. I'm doing all this. I still might go back in with a little bit of colored pencil near the end to get the lines right. In as much as that there's lines in this drawing that can be taken advantage of. Man, my nose is suddenly, I think it's allergies. Nose is like suddenly running. I'm really looking forward to the second season. I've depending on how close it sticks to the game, I'm pretty spoiled for what they're going to do in the second season of Last of Us. I'm just happy that there's going to be more. I'm not going to spoil anything for you guys, though. So it kind of goes into there, washes out the green of their shirt. So I'll have to probably paint in there, but we'll just thin it out like that. Sorry about that. Just kicked in since I started streaming. I blame YouTube for my allergies. Yeah, glaze into the line kind of breaks here at the nose. I'm gonna use some of that glaze to go into the tip of his nose or break that line up a bit. That happens right here above his eyebrow too. So this is a thin down titanium white with matte medium glaze, or matte medium to create a thin, like kind of washed out glaze to get some of these cheating in some of the colors instead of mixing paint. I'm actually pulling like slight highlights. Break some there. And again, with like covering up a bit, using some of this glazed white to break into the form means that I don't have to be as opaque with colors coming in after. The first coat of white's already dried, so I can actually cover it up a bit and get the opacity that I want. And it also breaks to white about this level on the back of his head. Just give me something to mark that transition there. So, apart from my talking about a book I've had for a while, is anyone getting any cool books this week? I do know for the Conan fans that the City of the Dead by John Hawking is out this week on the 18th. And I did the illustrations for that, so I'm pretty proud of that book. It's going to be all white up here. I could probably use a thicker white, but I could also do that for later. Again, I'm using the Zorn palette. So titanium white, cadmium red light, bloop, just a little bit. I work so slowly with the color that putting in a lot of paint's not worth it. Plus, I got a halfway decent spray bottle. I can just literally spray my entire palette, get a little bit of moisture on there, and that evaporates before anything else does. Also Zorn palette, ivory black. There's some on my palette already, but I'm just going to touch more. I used to have this brilliant glass, like 12 by 12 piece of glass I used as a palette. It broke. I dropped it. So now I'm using an old plastic shell from a Ferrero Rocher container. I don't think they make this model of Ferrero Rocher container anymore, which sucks. They're kind of like cloudy and softer. I like the hard plastic. They're easy to see through. So essentially 3 colors in white, or 2 colors in white and black. White's the absence of color, black's all the colors, theoretically. And so yellow ochre, cadmium red light, ivory black, titanium white, and matte medium, which I'll use preferentially over water to thin out a color, because that way the pigment doesn't get thinned out too much and the binder doesn't get thinned out too much. I like doing kind of like a hybrid thing of like, the light coming through hair. Get it in there in early stages, then paint over it a bit, and paint back over it, and have it go back and forth, back and forth. Gotta be me. All right. So I think in terms of his face, gotta be careful about that. Some of the white break-ins here along his forehead, the tip of his nose, those are already kind of there. So if I'm looking for the actual brightest point of his skin, it's this little ridge right here coming off of his nose down into the hot peak of his cheekbone. Maybe this part here. I think that's a little bit darker. I think it's in the shadow of the hair, so it's not as catching the white as much as like from the sky. And maybe just this little part here and on his lip, which is more highlight and everything else. We have similar things happening on his ear. I think they're all slightly lighter than the facial highlights here. Then we have this kind of like blowout part of white here in the back of his neck. Just get some more medium on that. Just remember to ghosting out the white in the back of his neck here. So highlights are going to be overwhelmingly white with very little else. So it's going to be a little bit of yellow in this. Or sorry, red in this because it's pink. But it's not a vibrant pink. So what I want to do There's not a lot of orange in it. It really leans towards the pink. So I think what I'm going to do is instead of adding yellow ochre, which kind of neutralize the colors a bit more and push it away further from pink than I wanted, I'm going to use the tiniest speck of black, which will make the color just a little grayer. Hopefully this is not too light. I'm mixing with a brush, and normally like mixing larger amounts of pigment with a palette knife. But again, this is not a glass palette, so like all the acrylic stays there, it gets bumpy and doesn't mix up very well. All right, so this is lighter here, pretty close to the white. This may not be pink enough, or I might have to come in with something else there. Okay, so this part right here is pretty white. Kind of dry brushing this pigment on. I don't want it to go on too opaque in case I have to like push it back again. So this shifts to the yellow in the end of the day. I think that's, I don't want to mess with that quite yet. It's like right here, this part of the eye in the printout is like a weird little tinge towards yellow. So I'm going to mix up new color when I go there. The wonderful thing about acrylics is how fast they dry, and you can layer other colors over top of them in matte pieces. Just painting on some highlights on the part of the ear so I don't lose the structure of the drawing. As I'm working with, as soon as I mix some color, I try and look everywhere I can where I can find that color kind of matches, at least in the value. So I can tint it with a little bit of glazed down pigment, but if I get that value right, then everything's good. Okay, as it steps down from this color, it gets pinker. So I'm going to add a little bit more red to my mix. Hopefully not too much. Stir it in. I don't like how color twists. I mean, I think I probably want to add like an alizarin crimson or something to get that kind of pink that's coming through here. But I don't want to really be jumping in adding all sorts of colors. I am going to add a little bit more black to this and see how that tints the red a bit. Black seems to help quite a bit. Maybe I could glaze this red over that ear a lot more effectively. So that's normally what I take whatever's loaded on the brush and I match it with the amount of glaze, so it gets about 50% screen. It's kind of a, here we go. Because I can pull a highlight out over top of that quite easily. Let me just run this through here. Because there's a lot of red in the skin tones here, so I can like glaze it in. Rub it into my finger a bit. The darker side of the ear. And his throat gets kind of like deeply red there. I'm gonna have to add more black to that. Take a bunch of red. Finger pulling off the paint is like one of my favorite things to do, even though I remember all the way to art school, don't do that. Use your brush, mix your paint. I'm like, if the color's right after I put it on and smudge it off a bit, then the color's right. Doesn't matter what I did to get it there. So that's my approach on that stuff. Art schools tend to like take stuff way too seriously. Pushing the values of saturation of the reds up a bit. I think that's one of the problems I had with what I did before. I didn't push the values as much. So I'd much rather go a little far and then come back, which is not what I did with this before. It just seems to have more life as soon as I go that way. All right, so I think this is pretty close. Now maybe let me push some darks in that darker red area. On the street, hey, with the monkeys. So have you guys been enjoying the daily drawings? That Daphne one that went way out of. I don't think I've had anything on Instagram get that much likes since before the witches. A weird coarse shadow in that ear. It's got a little darker in some of the areas, but it's doing what I need it to do here. A little more matte medium. Thin this out a bit. Now glaze into the underside here. Glaze into there. Give me more of a shadow there. Yeah, I grew up with Scooby-Doo. It was a childhood thing for me. I think I wrote about it when I posted it, how I spent my childhood watching Scooby-Doo, hoping someday they're going to find a real monster. And then all these years later, I'm like looking at it going, you know what? The monsters are the real people. And it was kind of like cathartic to, that's pretty dark, to have Daphne kill a bunch of them. It's kind of this color here. There's some like weird textures, which I think is makeup effects in on Pedro here. So I'm gonna go a little lighter here. Kind of a neutral. I probably want to kill out that red a bit more there because he's kind of washed out. A little bit lighter. And I want that oily, like transparency, so I can add some medium to it again and mix them in a little translucent. That's too bright. Push that back a bit. Dry brush does a lot of heavy lifting for me here. So assuming I get this done this week, that makes next week Ellie. Oh, here we go. Same characters throughout. Orange of Cast. Oh, you're talking about We Bring Only Death? I assume you're asking about We Bring Only Death answer. I'm going to be creating a new cast probably for every single story. As much of an anthology series as it is, it's going to be an anthology series in the sense of like True Detective. But hopefully it won't be as big an asshole as Pizzolatto, as he's turning out to be. Which sucks because I like his writing. But yeah, so the first We Bring Only Death, it's pretty much no survivors, of course, because it's a horror story. As much as I'm doing a horror story like that. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to neutralize the pink in here a bit more, but not drop the value. So I'm going to be adding some more black. Well, that's way too much. Adding some white. Doing kind of like almost like a mauve color. Got a little bit of pink in there. Bit of a highlight in there, but I don't want to touch that yet. Let's see if I can do that. There we go. Right now, the initial 5 stories I got penciled out, sketched out in my head. Most of the stuff are things that Vikings did largely in their own territory. Fact of the matter is, as if it goes along, like if I end up doing this for a few years, there will definitely be Vikings interacting with people from other territories. I don't think you can do Vikings justice unless especially in a series called We Bring Only Death, unless you show exactly like how that applied to the other people the Vikings encountered. So there will be. There's a story I'm holding for a friend of mine who's like a huge Viking guy, and so I got a story for him. And but he's not great on letting other people like do things for him. So I hate to say it, I think this is already looking a lot better than where I left it before. It may not look that great on camera, but it's looking a lot more like what I want it to look like. But if he ends up bailing on it, it's going to be super fun to draw, because I'm actually going to be drawing like a Russian or a Slavic god, and the Vikings traveling to his domain to kill him. Which honestly, that's kind of, to me, that comes across kind of baller. So I'm excited for that. Let's do there. So given a choice, I mean, the Vikings are almost like an endless source of like just cool fucked up shit. So I really want to get into that and take my money. Yeah, it's very much. I think between witches and Vikings, um, assuming a moderate amount of success on both, that's what you're going to see most out of me in the next several years. I mean, Second Coming covers for cool projects, absolutely, but there's that part of me that wants just to tell stories of drawing the shit I want to draw, and Vikings become a big part of that. Okay, so a bit more red and a bit more black. So I want to go for that kind of burnt red black color that's happening in there. It's like a weird, because I don't think I've ever painted someone with this sparse a beard before. There's kind of a strange texture that happens because the hair is kind of clumpy, and it creates weird shadows, so you're not quite sure about the form that you're seeing. So what I'm doing is I'm putting these reddish patches I want to show through when I go over with more of the skin color, and then I'm going to be doing the hair last and break that form up. I think I just saw a movie I was really excited to see. Oh, I saw Furiosa. I think I was going to talk pox or scars. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I saw Furiosa. And I was going to talk about it last week, but then like all the internet connection stuff. I really enjoyed it. It was very much a different creature than Fury Road, which was perfectly okay for me. So I want just a little bit of like a stroke right there to break that. Yeah, that works. Okay. Now there's a lot of gray, but still some pink in there right above that eye. I don't want to kill it. Gonna have to. Oh, I think that color dried already. Darn it. Easy enough to mix up. The wonderful thing about using a limited palette like this is it really teaches you how to mix certain colors very well, very quickly. Dry brushing around the eyes here. I mean, I could theoretically go back in and just draw the eyebrows with a pen or a superfine brush. Ooh, that's not good. Lost. Push that back with some black glaze and light there. It's too yellow. Yeah, I got to glaze that highlight back. It's too advanced, too forward. Hold that down with my fingers. Yeah, glaze that, get rid of that little bit of, you can see a little bit of highlight there that went on too strong. Boxer scars, yeah. I think he does have like some of the acne scars. I think Pascal has those. That's the first time I'm using water on the brush this session. It's already practically 8 o'clock. Wow. Yeah, I'm going to go for like at least another half hour. I just want to. This feels so much stronger than what I was doing before already. So I'm much happier with this. What was I going to do next? Let's grab some of this white, some medium, just the tiniest bit of red. This is not me going back into the black area. I just want to put some more pink back into some of this. Don't want too dark. Not sure if I want to glaze that yet. I'll let some of that nose disappear into the white background. got to get darker in here too. You have to keep reassessing everything you lay down as you go, just to make sure you're not screwing yourself up. Dark, all right. Clean out all the pigment. Drain out the water. Get a bunch of matte medium. Just a tiny bit of black. Maybe a little bit more than that. There we go. I don't think I'm expert enough a painter to show palette while I'm painting. I don't think what I'm mixing is that integral to the process here. Glaze does such a great job of pushing the values down where I want them. Yeah, some of that into there. That's too dark. Just realized it. I'm actually just going to leave some blobby bits of thinned out black in the areas where I know there's shadow underneath his beard growth. There's my finest rigging brush. So if you don't know, a rigging brush is a paintbrush developed primarily like a super long thin. There it is. Grabbing wrong brush. So real long tipped brush is essentially a rigging brush. And earned a name from painting ships, where they need to paint all that rigging on the old sail ships. Main reason why I just jumped right to doing beard highlights, I want to get a sense of how it's going to come together with this area that I left vague. That's pretty much painting hair on it to make it work. There's still other little things I want to touch. Like I still have to paint the hair. I still have to paint the plaid shirt with my fake green. That'll come soon enough. Now I mix a little bit of medium in with the white here, which allows me to do like very translucent strokes. So it doesn't like just look like white out sitting on top of his beard. No, it's too much. To get that point on that beard. I don't have to paint everything like super precise. Some of the stuff is going to be like dry brushed on just to get the value in the area right. I'll spread some of my paints are drying up here. I'm not trying to draw individual hairs. I'm just trying to capture the highlights and the structure of the beard. And also, some of these areas, it's not. Got a good color for that. Trying to pick up some areas where there's still some pigment. What I want to do here. Yeah, I'm going to mix a little bit of that, tiny little bit of that, because the hair is not all universally white. Some of it's like almost flesh colored. Just want the I can always push these down with a glaze of a darker color. If this goes on too heavy, tap it down a bit. Thin this down a little bit more medium. It's going out a little too opaque for what I like. Hopefully the painting sessions aren't boring. Not a lot of chatter going on, which is understandable because I'm not talking about a lot of stuff either. If anyone's curious, I have yet to hear word about status of Coven coming back from the printer. It's a little frustrating that it's gotten so quiet, but they're doing this big campaign thing trying to get people to invest in their company this past month too. So I think that kind of ate up some of their availability for doing things like take care of my stuff. All right, so I'm going to jump from the beard, which it's a little over rendered, so I want to let that fully dry before I go back in with some glazes to push it back down a bit, and then pull some more highlights. So what I'm going to do instead, while that's drying, is I'm going to paint some of the highlights in his hair up top, so I can actually start working on some of that stuff. That's kind of like a weird, kind of like yellowish. So I'm gonna pull in some of the yellow ochre in there right away. I want it to dull down a bit from that yellow, so I'm gonna take the tiniest amount of black, which also pushes it towards the green, of course, and then a whole lot of white. And mixing with the brush, which is again something I try not to do, but I'm doing it. So I've mixed out a white that's about 70% of what I need for this. I'm gonna throw in some medium in there. Not wanting to necessarily do a slavish recreation of this photograph or this screen cap. But it'd be nice if it captured a likeness and did all the stuff I needed it to do as a painting. Again, right now this is mostly just practice getting my ability to mix and see color before I swap over to some oils. Time allowing, I was not expecting to be this busy this summer. I'll take it though. Freelancers being what we are. I mean, it'd be terrible if I don't get time to paint in the oils I bought. But paying bills, that's pretty damn good too. So I'll stick with that. I feel what they did with his hair here is they did a lot of. He just grabbed his highlights and colored his hair. That's too strong. Tend to be more anal about details like this when I'm working digitally, because it's so easy to like just undo every time you don't like how something's turning out. With oils and acrylics, you kind of, even though I can keep going over acrylics again and again and again, it's a little bit better, to know when you should let it go. Whoops. Oh, no good. Rolling the brush out to get a tip back again. putting highlights on top of the highlights, if you follow what I mean there. The last thing I'll do is I'll probably put in some individual strokes. So like, there's a couple in here like this. So I put that in like that, but I'll do that at the end so it doesn't get covered up and mussed up and all that stuff as I add some more strokes. Okay, I'm shifting gears a bit because I just ran out of white on my palette. So if I'm putting a big pile of white on my palette, I should probably work on these background areas here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm really happy with how Zoop is going for, and that Kickstarter for the Kaza art book. Oh my god, it's crazy. I'm working with acrylics, Brendan. I do have the oils I ordered; they're all on hand. But I honestly I want to get a little bit more practice in before I shift to another medium. It just seems like be kind of lazy to not do the whole series of The Last of Us. Hey, right now, it's just going to be 3 paintings. I'm going to do Ellie. I got Pedro here. I'm going to do Bella Ramsey, and then the couple, Nick Offerman, and I'm always perpetually forgetting the other actor's name. He's so good. They're both so good in that. See if I can get that green mixed up now. So in the Zorn palette, the closest you're going to get to a green out of this is the ivory black, which leans towards blue, and yellow ochre. So that kind of gives you a sort of green. Grab a bunch of medium. I only want to like slightly stain the white here. essentially going wet and wet here. Like the acrylic hasn't dried yet, and I still got some of this white here. So I can like mix them together on the palette, or on the painting, I should say. Wow, and like that, I went through all the white paint I put in my palette. That's a little bit of what you can get away with oils, which is what I'm looking forward to just do wet and wet type of techniques that let you get away with something. Feels like getting away with something when you get to use a paint that's there, but it's just, using what's there. I don't want everything to be smooth. I find that's a little tedious in terms of paintings. Like when you see something that's like rendered to the nth degree, like I hate to say it, like Boris Vallejo, that stuff just never doesn't hit me. I mean, the technical proficiency Boris brings to his paintings is amazing, but I need to see some of the artist's hand there. If everything's like rendered perfect to the photo reference, then it's a tribute to the photographer, not necessarily the artist. Yeah, those whites are too white there. Now that I got all this other white here, it's pulling it out. So I'm gonna tint down a little flesh tone. There's a little bit of yellow, and just push that into there. Let that push back a bit. That. So I want to get some of this shirt painted in here. I'm running close to where I'd normally take a little break when I'm working on a painting. So it's almost 8:30. So this is going to work out time wise. Yeah. So the plan is, I got at least one cover to do this week, on top of my other work. So the plan is to definitely finish this for next week and hopefully get that Conan and that Viking ship piece done. I really want to get that done. I got to do a little bit of work, but not enough to get it within striking distance of finishing. Maybe a little bit whiter on that shirt. Before I start cleaning off my palette, let me push back that. Take some of that yellow, take some of that red. A little bit of black. And how much medium do I got left here? That's probably too pink. That's way too pink. Kill it a bit with black here. thin it a bit more, some more medium. Yeah, so next week definitely be Ellie. I might even tone back a bit on the daily drawings just to get more stuff done. So I also have, like, this fall we got the next witch book. I got a lot of work to do on that still. Love the stories I'm coming up with it though. Yeah, so let me just. Okay, so I push that back a bit more. I can come back in with a darker glaze and the black. That's. Thanks, Anson. I'm shutting down shortly too. Gone our usual hour and a half. I don't like abusing too much people's time. I'm just grateful enough for everyone just popping by and checking out. That's a huge thrill for me still. All right, you guys, you all have an amazing week. I'm probably going to be doing a book review on a short video middle of the week to show which book I'm giving away on my Patreon. I meant to do it this week, but again, like, just the hangover from having my internet screwed up all last weekend and last week. All right. Hopefully you like and subscribe to the video. If you want to support me directly, I have a $1 a month Patreon. You get to see everything earlier than I post anywhere else. In fact, I'm going to be making some shifts on what I'm posting publicly. More so, I'll be probably more likely than not cropping everything outside of Cara, which is one of the platforms I'm on, the new anti-AI pro artist platform that started up called Cara, CARA. Great site so far. Yeah, so I'm still on Instagram. I'm still going to post stuff on Instagram, but it's not going to be my primary posting place. Still be posting stuff on Bluesky and Facebook, but again, I think what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing cropped versions. So the only way to see the work is when it's like a published piece, like a cover, and then you share the whole cover. But if you want to see the behind the scenes, you want to see the developmental stuff, everything's going to have to be either at Patreon or Cara. So yeah, so if you like the idea of giving me $1 a month and making me able to eat $1's worth more of food every month, or pay $1 rent a month, feel free to subscribe there. Otherwise, I will see you, hopefully all of you, next Sunday night, 7 p.m., pending internet issues. All right, you guys have a great week. Yeah, I'm trying to get the mouse to work. Here we go.